Hi everybody, I thought it'd be very useful if I do some studying, which I've done, on the new housing policies that are coming out from the government. And this is in the form of a white paper. It's called a white paper. It then goes to House of Lords. They may change it a bit. Then it comes back to House of Commons and becomes law. So this is what's going to happen. New housing policy. I'm slightly disappointed, I have to say, but please don't switch off. I'm going to have to read some of this as well, if you don't mind. Normally I try and do it from memory, but this is a bit tricky. So I'm going to read what I've done. I've taken out the bits that I think are really important to small developers like you and me and so on. So, you know, bear with me because this is important stuff. So basically the good news is they're going to give training to councillors who are on the housing committee. Well, that's not a bad idea, is it? Because most of them don't even look at the plan the right way up. They haven't got a clue. They're not trained in housing or planning or anything else. And they've got some pretty cockeyed ideas, most councillors, when it comes to planning. So I think that is a tick. They're also going to reduce the size of these committees because some of them are very large indeed. They're going to reduce the size of the committees. What also they're going to do, or so they say, is not going to go, you don't have to go to a committee decision on planning in certain cases. Well, guess what? You don't have to now. It's called delegated powers, and most councils work on the policy. If there's nobody objecting to the planning, it doesn't need to go to planning committee, and it's signed off by the planning officer. So, you know, there's not much new in all this. The old government were trying to do a lot of it and were doing some of this. So anyway, National Restoration Fund. That's where house builders will be able to pay into a fund and be able to waive environmental objections to their scheme. Now, that sounds like bribery to me, but there we go. It's obviously legal bribery. And rather than have the scheme stopped because of environmental issues, they'll be able to pay into a fund and then that money will be used elsewhere. All this really is for larger house builders, not you and me, to be honest with you, but we'll carry on. There's going to be a strategic planning system. That means that experts across the UK are going to say where they think housing should be. Well, I'm sure that currently happens anyway. Across England, they will decide on which area is going to be built on. I don't know who these people are going to be. I've got no idea at this point. They're going to streamline infrastructure. So if the government wants to build big roads and infrastructure through the countryside, the objections will be diluted to such an extent that it will just pass through. Well, I'm afraid that's probably, dare I say it, I do drive a hybrid now. It was electric, now it's a hybrid. So I'm all into the environment, but I think that's probably a good idea because I think nothing ever gets happened unless you drive things forward. There's also going to be a development corporation to build new towns. Now, again, this isn't particularly new. The last big town that was built was Milton Keynes in 1970, and that was built on land that was bought from farmers at agricultural value. Now, what's very interesting, these so-called new development corporations are going to be able to do the similar. So they're going to be able to buy land, basically, which has not got any hope value in it. So you can't say, well, we're going to get planning, we haven't got it, but we want an extra 200,000 acre. This land, I think, is going to come across probably at just over agricultural value, but it's only for social housing. Remember, socialist government, they want to build social houses. That's their big thing. And they'll compulsory purchase the land. That's the other issue. So at the moment, it's very hard for councils to compulsory purchase buildings and land. It's very expensive because of all the appeals that go, you know, high court cases and so on. They're going to make it a lot easier for councils to compulsory purchase buildings and land. Now that may be quite a good idea. If there's something holding up a development, they're going to make it easier for that building to be bought, probably at a fair value, so not inflated value. The guys or girls might be holding out for an inflated price. Well, that will stop because the government are going to make it a lot easier for local authorities to buy these properties at a fair value. So listen, I can go on and on. The one thing I would say is there's not much here, unfortunately, for the smaller developer like you and me. I've got a few ideas about what they could do to support us and make developments happen, drive the development forward, get more housing. But I don't think any of this really applies to you and me, unfortunately. But it's very important that you understand and know about it. See you next time.